You learned to smile when you were furious. You learned to say it's fine when it wasn't fine at all. You learned that your anger made other people uncomfortable and that their discomfort was somehow your responsibility to fix. So you swallowed it, again and again and again, until swallowing it became automatic, until you didn't even feel the swallowing anymore. You just felt nothing or everything, all at once, with no idea where it came from. If that hit differently than you expected, stay with me, because what I'm about to tell you changes how you see yourself. Think about the last time someone did something that genuinely hurt you. Maybe it was something small, a comment that landed wrong, a message that didn't come, a moment where someone chose themselves over you and didn't even notice they'd done it. And instead of feeling angry, what did you feel? Sad, probably. Anxious, maybe. Guilty, almost certainly. You cycled through every emotion on the spectrum, except the one you were actually entitled to feel. And here's what's wild about that. Anger is the emotion that says, I matter. My needs are real. What happened to me was not okay. It's not the dangerous emotion people convinced you it was. It's actually the most self-protective one you have. And somewhere along the way, someone took it from you. By the end of this, you're going to understand exactly how that happened and why it's been quietly running your life ever since. There's something that people who were never allowed to be angry all share. They become extraordinary readers of other people. You don't just hear what someone says. You hear the half-second pause before they say it. You notice when someone's laugh is 2% too bright. You feel the shift in a room before anyone else registers that anything has changed. People have probably called you perceptive, intuitive, maybe even a little intense. And you've probably laughed it off. But privately, you know it's true. Here's the psychology behind it. When you grow up in an environment where someone else's emotions are unpredictable, where the atmosphere could shift without warning, your nervous system learns to scan. Constantly. It learns to treat social information like survival information, because at some point it was. You weren't born hypervigilant. You were trained into it. Every time you successfully read the room and avoided a conflict, your brain filed that away as a win. Do it again. Stay safe. The cruel irony is that this makes you one of the most emotionally intelligent people in any room you walk into. You pick up on things that other people are completely blind to. You can sense tension in a voice, dishonesty in an explanation, pain behind a smile. That's not nothing. That's remarkable. But it also means you are never, ever just in the room. Part of you is always watching it. And that watching, it comes at a cost. Small things hit you in ways that other people genuinely can't understand. Someone's brief tone of irritation lingers in your body for hours. A vague text sends you on a 20-minute internal investigation. A joke that landed wrong replays in your mind at 2 a.m. And you know what other people say when they find out. They say you're too sensitive. You're overreacting. You need to let it go. But here's what they don't understand. You're not overreacting. Your nervous system is over-registering. There's a difference that matters enormously. Research in developmental psychology has found that children who grow up in emotionally unpredictable households develop a heightened threat detection response. The brain literally rewires itself to treat emotional signals as high-priority data. So when something small happens now, your nervous system doesn't experience it as small. It experiences it as information. Urgent information. The kind that used to matter. The kind you had to act on. You're not weak for feeling things deeply. You're responding exactly the way a nervous system responds when it was never given permission to discharge emotion safely. The feelings went in, they just never had anywhere to go out. So where does this actually begin? For most people who struggle with anger, who feel it as guilt or sadness, or a vague anxious hum in their chest, it starts in childhood. Not necessarily with dramatic abuse. Sometimes it's quieter than that. Sometimes it's a parent who went cold and silent when you expressed frustration, a household where raised voices meant danger, a family where "we don't talk like that" meant we don't talk about that, where your upset was reframed as dramatic, manipulative, or ungrateful. You learned the lesson fast, because children always do. You learned that your anger had consequences, that expressing it made you the problem, so you did what any intelligent child does. You adapted. You became easier, more agreeable, more attuned to what everyone else needed. You learned to manage their emotions because managing yours was not an option. And here's the part that no one tells you. You didn't just suppress the anger. You learned to convert it. Anger became sadness because sadness was more acceptable. Anger became anxiety because anxiety at least didn't risk anyone else's comfort. Anger became people-pleasing because if everyone around you was fine, then maybe, just maybe, you were safe. You didn't lose your emotions. You translated them into ones that were allowed. Now here's the paradox. And this one might actually sting a little. The same emotional architecture that made your childhood harder has made you something rare as an adult. You feel things deeply, so you love deeply. You learn to read people, so you can hold space for them in ways most people can't. You converted your anger into understanding, and so you became someone who gives people the benefit of the doubt, sometimes long past the point where they've earned it. You have a capacity for empathy that other people spend years in therapy trying to develop. But, and this matters, empathy without anger is just exposure. It's feeling everyone else's pain with no boundary around your own. It's absorbing and absorbing and absorbing until you are empty, and then feeling guilty for being empty, because even exhausted, you still think your needs are somehow negotiable. The exhaustion you feel isn't weakness. It's the accumulated weight of every emotion you were told not to have. And this is the part I really need you to hear. You were not too much. You were not dramatic. You were not broken or difficult or oversensitive. You were a person with a full emotional life who was placed in an environment that couldn't hold it. That's not a character flaw. That's a circumstance. And the fact that you survived it, that you developed empathy instead of cruelty, sensitivity instead of numbness, depth instead of shutdown, that says something about you that you need to stop explaining away. The anger you were never allowed to feel. It's still in there. Not as rage, not as destruction. It's there as the exhaustion you can't shake, as the resentment you feel guilty for, as the chronic sadness that doesn't seem to have a reason, as the way you abandon yourself just before someone might abandon you first. That anger was trying to protect you. It still is. And learning to feel it, safely, honestly, without it meaning you've become the thing you feared. That's not losing control. That's finally coming home to yourself. You don't have to perform calm anymore. You don't have to be the person who's always fine. You are allowed to take up space with how you actually feel. And if no one has ever told you that directly, I'm telling you now. If this video made something shift in you, even slightly, watch this one next. It goes even deeper into why some people become the emotional caretakers in every relationship they're in, and what it actually costs them. I think you'll know exactly what I'm talking about.